online casino in Brazil is not the online casino we know in Europe. Like land-based casinos have been illegal since 1946. There isn't a big casino culture. I got a bit tired of over-regulation in Europe. Ironically, we're closer than ever to regulation in Brazil now.
That's
So.
Good morning. Welcome to another edition of the SiGMA podcast, where today we're meeting Alan Brincat, the co-founder of Propane, which is a marketing agency based in Brazil.
Yes.
Brazil. So, first of all, Alan, thanks for joining us today. Why Brazil?
To keep it short, basically, as you know, I was working European markets for first decade of my career, I would say. And then in 2018, I started doing some consultancy. Wanted to step away from like management roles and do more of what I enjoyed, which is the marketing side of things.
When you say the marketing side of things, the marketing for gaming, right?
Marketing for gaming, exactly.
So would that be affiliation and more?
Affiliation, SEO, the full shebang, basically.
Yeah, but you have quite a reputation on SEO, right?
Yes.
How did you get involved in that?
Back in the day, we also founded a company called Game Changer for SEO. I'm no longer actively involved in that. But well, it's some of the best quality traffic you can get, so
Okay.
it's a natural combination with iGaming, I guess.
For those, I believe most of our audience understands what SEO is, but every now and again we do get those, let's call them walk-ins, who don't really know what SEO means. So, for the benefit of those walk-ins and who message every now and again asking, what does this mean, what does that mean? What is SEO in just a few sentences?
So basically, you need to optimize to rank in the top real estate on Google when people are looking for gambling.
SEO, search engine
Optimization, exactly. So you're optimizing to rank as high as possible for relevant keywords. It's good quality traffic. Why? Because there's intent. Usually you have a user on the other end who's looking for an online casino or a sports betting brand or a good offer. And obviously, the higher up you are in the rankings, the more of that traffic you're going to get, right?
And how does that actually work? So how can you appear so high up in the rankings without revealing any trade secrets?
Look, there's algorithms which are updated regularly. It's a never-ending game of like cat and mouse. And there's a lot of techniques that can be applied both on your website, on page, and off-page SEO to send the right signals to Google.
Okay. All right. And this is because Google being the main search engine used on the internet, right?
Yes. I mean, it works in most markets, but for example, taking you back to Brazil, online casino in Brazil is not the online casino we know in Europe. Why? Like land-based casinos have been illegal since 1946. There isn't a big casino culture until I would say the last 2-3 years when some big brands came in the space. There was a lot of innovation when it comes to payments. So we have Pix, which is like instant banking basically over there. So crash games, Pix, and probably influencer marketing coupled together is what led to kind of the boom of casino in Brazil. Before that, it was quite a taboo actually.
Okay. So you have SEO, which is your bread and butter, online marketing, of which SEO is part of, is your bread and butter. So how did you end up, let's say, focusing so much on the Brazilian market? Because I know you quite well, so this is why I'm asking this question, because I know you're focused a lot on the Brazilian market.
Yes, it's ironic, right? Someone coming from like one of the smallest countries in the
how did you
world
end
to
up
one
in
of the
Brazil?
biggest. When I started doing consultancy in 2018, one of my first clients was an operator. I'd invested a few million in Brazil.
Okay.
And basically they bent most of their marketing budget. So I'd gone in and we managed to kind of turn it around. It was quite a nice story as well, in the sense that in the first month after relaunching the product, we made more than the previous year combined in revenue. So it was quite an exciting ride over there. But yes, I wanted to get out of the comfort zone. I got a bit tired of over-regulation in Europe. But ironically, we're closer than ever to regulation in Brazil now.
That's
So
what I was gonna- You've given me two questions here. Over-regulation in Europe, what do you mean there exactly?
I think there's a lot of restrictions when it comes to advertising. So as a marketer, it's not always, the playground we want to play in. I mean, challenges mean opportunities as well, if you manage to think outside of the box, so that's nice. And also taxation, it eats away a lot of the revenues. I mean, going to Brazil, they revised taxes, so they were going to tax, they're still going to tax withdrawals, customer withdrawals. They're going to tax them monthly. Now they changed that to annually, and they went down from 30% to 15%. But if it's that unsustainable, you're talking about planting the seeds to grow a big black market as well.
How do you, I mean, I ask this to you, but it should be the regulators. But how do you balance fiscal requirements, regulatory requirements with player experience? Because when you lose that balance, the black market just thrives, doesn't it?
Yes. And there's a chance of that happening in Brazil as well. I think it will take years until the regulation is optimized and sustainable enough. I mean, just to put things into perspective, they opened a call for applications, early companies that express early interest in May. But there's last month, but they're still publishing the fine print and the regulations. So 133 companies expressed interest.
So there's been an expression of interest
applying, but so far only one applied for a license.
How can
1
you
month
apply
later,
without knowing what the actual conditions are going to be?
Exactly, and we're talking about a $6 million fee to apply for a license in Brazil. I mean, it's a big country. We're talking to 120 million people.
It's a lot of money.
Yes, it's a lot of money.
Is it a closed number, the Brazilian market, or open? So, is there a number of licenses and it's limited to that, or is it an open market?
It's going to be unlimited. Each license application gives you access to 3 brands, so you can operate 3 brands. So working with a lot of companies and trying to set up the right consortiums and the right groups.
You could split up that 6 million to 2 million each.
Yes.
But then, is there one set of terms and conditions per license or per brand?
So that's one of the things that's not clear, whether they can be on the same platform or not.
You see now the compliance questions.
Yes, so early indications are that they can actually be on different platforms, but once again, the fine print hasn't been published, and the last of the 4 stages ends in July now, when all the rules should be clear.
So would you think that the regulator, from the nature of the questions they received, would have realized that they might be creating loopholes to that 6 million?
Definitely. I mean, the regulator is willing to listen. We've been doing a lot of work, like in Brasilia, with senators, deputies, working with CONAR, which is their advertising commission, so to speak. There's 2 associations in Brazil which have been very, very influential as well. They've done great work. But it's going to take years until we have a proper functioning regulation over there, for sure.
So how easy or how difficult did things develop post change in government? Because you went from
Bolsonaro to Lula,
the Amazon burning president, to Lula, who was in prison during the actual election process.
Yes, so there's a big. Brazil has a very big religious culture. 2 biggest religions are Catholicism, and probably football, right? Which is interesting because there's a lot of money from gambling coming into football teams as well. Bolsonaro was scared to sign the initial bill because there's a lot of evangelical support, behind him. Now the bill was signed right at the end of the year, 30 December last year, actually. But as we said, certain things are still being defined, They still haven't announced whether all casino games will be allowed. There have been some...
So you don't even know the verticals exactly, or you don't know the products
in those
verticals?
In the Brazilian media, there were a lot of stories about certain games, which got a really bad reputation.
Such as?
There's a game called Fortune Tiger, they call it Tigrinho over there. It's a slot game. And influencers, there was an influencer that ended up in court, and then the influencer was charged with other charges, and they said they don't want to include this game in the regulation. Crash games are a big thing as well, Crash games, like Aviator, for example. So not the traditional slots with reels, basically. It's like instant win games where you feel that you can control the outcome.
To a certain extent, or no?
No, not really. So basically, you decide when to kind of exit the game, So
Okay.
there's an element of control.
So there is an element of skill?
No
Or not
element
really?
of skill. It's still luck, but the fact that you choose when to kind of cash out during the game,
Okay.
you're in control of that, and it gives you like a bit of
So
a
there's
different
a
feeling.
perception of skill.
There's a perception, yeah, that's the right
Okay.
word to
Okay.
use over there. So yes, a lot of things still being defined, I would
Okay.
say. Yeah.
So the Brazilian market is supposedly open, but we don't know the parameters of that open.
That's right, yes,
Exactly.
yes.
Okay.
And to add an extra
how,
layer.
How easy or difficult? How difficult does that make for investors to finally take the decision to, let's say, decide to go for it and pull the trigger?
There's, first of all, an extra layer of complexity. So some states started regulating gambling themselves. So in Brazil, you have over 20 states and Brasilia.
So you have
So
the
a few
federal
of
and the
them
state.
started trying to kind of speed up the process because the federal government took really long.
Mm-hmm.
So you have states like Rio, Paraná, which have their own like sports betting regulations. So now it's going to be interesting as well in terms of Supreme Court cases, because Rio said that with their license you can operate across the whole country. From a marketing perspective, having a license means you can advertise on Google, advertise on Meta platforms, and get whitelisted for that. So it's a big advantage.
So if you have a Rio license, for example,
Yes.
can you, with that Rio license, go to Meta and tell them, listen, I have this license, I'd like to start advertising in Brazil. Will Meta geolocate you for Rio only, or will they allow the whole Brazilian
It's still
market?
not clear, and there are some companies which have obtained whitelisting already. But then there are other forces at play as well. Whether you're established company already investing on these platforms as well.
Do you know of any vacancies for lawyers over there? Because right now it's a beautiful environment for us.
Yes, and it's a market where you don't have a lot of people who are experienced when it comes to gambling. So we had to look at challenges from a marketing point of view, and this is why we started the company in the first place. You have Brazilian agencies who knew very little about iGaming. And then you have
marketing agencies.
Exactly, and then the Europeans don't know anything about Brazilians themselves, So what we did with Propane is kind of we combined the two. So I'm the only guy in Malta, the rest of my team is down in Brazil, and we have all the local knowledge. We're training the right people, investing a lot over there.
We have a few minutes left.
Right.
Time has flown, but you've just used the word training. What's your connection with MMA? Because I see your Instagram feed, and you're with all of these top MMA fighters in Brazil, training with them. We're going to see you in the ring. On the octagon?
I wish. If I was a bit younger, maybe.
Seriously?
If I was a bit younger, why not? But basically...
Wait. One question at a time. Give me time to build this up. Why would you do it? Not just because you're younger. Why would you do it?
I love sports. I love the challenge. I love all the
sports.
different elements that go into, fight sports as well.
Okay,
The
so it's a
psychological
fight sport
element,
team.
the fitness element, But influencer marketing is a big thing in Brazil, affiliation is not as mature as it is in Europe. So it's a bit of a marriage made in heaven, especially if you want to differentiate.
So MMA is very, very popular in
A lot
Brazil.
of UFC fighters come from Brazil. I would say around 50% of UFC fighters come from Brazil.
Seriously?
For me, it combines two of my passions, my job and what I enjoy watching in the
And
weekends.
how big is the mental element in MMA? It's not just... It's big, right?
There's a lot to it, yes.
Can you explain a bit?
Look at Conor McGregor, and all the shenanigans in the press conference. I know he just pulled out of the fight, but...
He pulled out of this one?
He pulled out of the fight, yes. So, yes, the UFC has a couple of cancellations to deal with. There's this weekend's fight card with Kamzat, who was very unwell, and Conor also pulled out due to an injury.
Okay. So, well, we found out something else about you and also about the Brazilian market. So MMA and the Brazilian market is very strong, the connection. So sports, I would take sports as being a stronger vertical than casino, right?
Definitely. And with the new regulation, there's going to be restrictions that active athletes cannot promote brands, which to a certain
was
extent
about
makes
to
sense,
ask.
you know, because there were some
So
match-fixing scandals as well.
Actors can't promote brands or even
Athletes.
sports. Athletes.
Athletes who are active, still active,
So you
cannot
can't
be
have, for
affiliated with a
example,
brand. A retired.
Flamengo. It's
Okay.
French
No,
Brazilian
a sports
football.
team you can. A sports team you
team
can. In fact, most of the Brazilian Serie A, Serie B sports team have a gambling sponsor,
Okay.
and they wouldn't give up on that money
think
easily.
it's
But
good
we're
money,
seeing
right?
a shift. We do a lot of work in the influencer marketing side, and the brands are going for like artists, lifestyle influencers now to start preparing for what's to come after January.
And I believe Argentina is a neighbor of
Yes.
Argentina is a much smaller country, population size, right?
Yes. Brazil is massive. Brazil, to travel from one side of the other to Brazil, you have like 5 hours. We're talking about, I don't know, 8.5 million square kilometers.
And it's 220 million people.
220 million people. Malta, for comparison, is 246 square kilometers. You know, so it's-
Argentina is, as far as I know, Buenos Aires, which is the capital, is just 6 million people, which is the capital.
yes, but interesting fact about Argentina, I'm going to land-based side of things. So Buenos Aires alone gets more tourists than all of Brazil. So Brazil gets 6 million tourists a year at the moment.
But
And there's
Brazil
another-
has a bad rep.
Yes, in terms of safety, but now there's been a lot of movement in terms of regulating land-based casino, and they're going to do it sustainably. You know,
In
It's
Brazil or in...
between 1 and 3 casinos per state. A state is the size of a European country, basically, and the proposals that will need to be submitted will need to be like comprehensive enough to include resorts, tourism, upkeep of the area
you're
and
looking at
whatnot.
you're looking at a full resorts.
Yes, there's a lot of people just waiting for that because it's a beautiful country.
I can imagine.
It's a beautiful
I can
country.
imagine. The Argentinian market is not a market you've looked into much.
I haven't done much in Argentina. I've done work in Peru, Colombia, and Mexico, but Argentina is also very complicated from a regulatory point of view.
Peru,
yes.
Colombia, and Mexico will be our second podcast. So we have a bit.
Took a
more-
few months to convince me to come on this one, so
But as you can see, the time has flown. We have to end here. Alan, it was a pleasure to host you. Thank you so much for your insights. I really appreciate it. And I'd like to thank SiGMA and the crew for hosting us. And I will remind you that SiGMA's next event will be in Budapest in the coming months. You can get more information on the sigma.world website. In the meantime, myself, Trevor the Giorgio, wish you best day, the rest of the day possible, and I'll be with you next episode of SiGMA Podcast. Thank you so much.